Welcome to Charlie's Pub and Eatery and another episode of Scot Talk with Matt Scott, head coach of the Fighting Scots. I'm Joe Lodanosky each and every Monday here at 7 o'clock and, of course, online at YouTube TV, the Fighting Scots athletic page. And, well, I'm not going to lie, Matt. I pulled up to this parking lot many a time and thought, oh, boy, how do we do this one? Couldn't wait to get here this evening. Not certain if we switched uniforms at halftime, but pun intended, a tale of two halves. I'll let you go if you want. The glass half empty or the glass half full, your pick. But either way, a great 21-20 comeback win. Awful to awesome. The emotions, let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the most frustrating part about the whole deal was we felt, even in the first half, like, man, the players are there. The opportunities are there to get off the field. The opportunities are there to make a play. You know, so when I was coming off the field, I was like, man, guys, we're good, man. We just got to come out there and we got to do our jobs. And even talking to the kids, sometimes, hey, just keep fighting. You know, you're just looking at them and you see that glazed over look in their eye. But we're in the locker room and dudes are like, Coach, when are we getting back out there? We know we got this. And so it was good to see that confidence in that fight in the kids' eyes.
You know, and I think there's a lot to be said. And this is just my experience. And I've been doing this a long time, Friday and Saturday night. I like to watch the sideline and commercial breaks. I like to see – it never seemed that there was animosity. It never seemed that people lost their cool. But that must have been one hell of a halftime speech that you gave.
Like I said, I think a lot of the guys were really just ready to go. You know, I kept it simple, man. Just go out there and fight one snap at a time, one drive at a time, one quarter at a time. And if we just keep plugging away, keep chipping away, we're going to be right back in this thing. And like I said, the kids, you saw it in their faces, you saw it in their eyes at halftime. They didn't need anything special. They knew that the plays were out there. Let's go make them.
Now, obviously, you knock out Gershio, which hopefully he is, good. They have a bye week this week. He is a terrific player. But, you thought that, okay, this is one of the most dynamic guys in the league. You catch a break, and then, Schweitzer comes out, and he was the one that built the 20-0 lead. How much did you kind of find yourself kind of searching? Because granted, Schweitzer certainly was good, but he was not the same thing as Gershio and dynamic. And that, obviously we talked about that last week, but how much did that impact your game plan as the day went on?
Well, it was actually funny though, because they played so much, they had so many blowouts there early in the year that we actually got a lot of tape of them playing. And we were like, well, he kind of moves around. Obviously he's not Gershio, but he moves around pretty well. He still has he's an older kid, still has really good command of the offense. So we weren't shocked by any stretch for him to go out there and have some success. We felt hey man, listen, there's plays out there for us to make. And so I don't think there was really a whole heck of a lot of adjustment. Obviously it allowed our pass rush guys to get a little bit more loose, a little less caging, and trying to make sure that we keep the quarterback in front of us and in the pocket and let us turn it loose a little bit. But then when we knock him out and you go to your third quarterback, it's there's only so much that you can do and how many reps that kid got during the week. Again, as much as we want to say, hey, it was a different game because those guys got out, you got to protect the quarterback. And so I thought we did a great job getting after the quarterback, rushing the passer, making those guys all feel uncomfortable, doing a great job in our coverage rules when they started to scramble. So it was definitely hats off to our defensive line there.
One of the first things that I asked you post-game after is who is Dante White and where has he been? So I will ask this question on behalf of everybody else. First game action, 9 tackles, 2 sacks, 4.5 TFLs, the most since 2016 by a Fighting Scot. He's PSAC Defensive Player of the Week in the West. Western Connecticut transfer. Where's he been, and what can you tell us about that performance?
Yeah, you know what? He's been a guy that came in. We brought him in as a Mike, so he's playing the inside spot. We felt like, hey, we got a couple guys that are figuring this thing out. Let's move him out to Will. We knew, again, we had 2 solid guys there, in Nick Bogan and Nate Ewell. But we just knew that we needed a little extra juice there. So he didn't really get to that spot until the 3rd week of camp. We just kept hoping and praying he was going to eventually figure it out because he saw some flashes. And then after the Bloomsburg game, we were basically we're just going to rip the Band-Aid off, and we know there's going to be some mistakes. but he's going to play hard. He's going to play fast, and that's what he did. He's still, like, I was joking with him after practice today. I'm like, you still miss a line like 7 times in that game. But, at the end of the day, he just played hard, and he played a million miles an hour. And Joe Sanford talked to our guys on Saturday morning, and he said, after you're going to make a mistake, do the next right thing. Don't compound the mistakes. And so that's what we said to our kids before the game, and that's what he did. He might have made a mistake on a play, and then he just corrected it by playing as hard as he could, as fast as the ball as possible. And I was really proud to see him do that.
The other thing that I thought that was different, especially in the second half, I thought your D-line pursuit pressure was better, and you didn't need to necessarily bring blitzers to get what you wanted. And it felt like it was every other snap, every 2 snaps. Did you change the rotation? And I even saw that at some points you were mixing the two lines together.
Yeah, we started, you're starting to see JT Wallach really from a pass rushing standpoint and from like a penetration and movement standpoint really cause some problems in the backfield. So he's starting to work his way a little bit more into that one rotation with Nick Rossi. And then we started moving Sunday around a little bit, and we started moving Mo. We kind of put those guys inside, because initially with Dershio, we were thinking like, hey, 5'10" quarterback, make him throw over those 2 big guys in the middle. But I'm starting to really like those guys in there, especially with some of the twist games and penetration, and again, just their length to be able to bat balls at the line of scrimmage. So we're starting to have some fun. We're getting a little mad scientist-y with some of those rotations, and you're starting to see guys just embrace the fact of don't count your reps, make your reps count. But we're really like 1-1 with those guys. I mean, they're finishing games in a 70-snap game, 35 to maybe 33, 34. They're all pretty close to each other from a rep standpoint.
The offense, obviously, a tale of 2 halves as well. The combination of Karan Robinson and Jerry Dinkins is a more than serviceable effort with what those guys did. But I want to talk a little bit about Nico and DaeDae Allen, who we're going to talk to later on, some of the contested catches, and the 9-play, 64-yard drive that proved to be the winner. And then prior to that, a 10-play, 97-yard drive. Obviously, I'd like to get what Zach did differently from his perspective, but night and day difference. And all of a sudden, it seemed that it was much more balanced, and you were getting one after the other. And we talk about how you need to stack plays together. And obviously, 10 plays, 97 yards is stacking plays together.
Yeah, I think the best thing about Zach is that he's really coachable. Like I trust him a million times, but there's just things that I know gives defenses problems. And so, like, the biggest thing that I saw from those 2 drives was that he never gave up on the run game. Even if it's a 2-yard gain, a 3-yard gain, it's still keeping them honest that they just can't turn the pass rush loose and just kind of stick with it. And I know there was fans yelling like, oh, we got to pass the ball, coach. It's like, yeah, I understand that. But you got to continue to try to find a way to run the ball, and they're going to pop at some point. Our guys are continuing to work at it. We're continuing to find the plays that are going to give our offensive line the best chances to be successful and create space for those 2 backs, and those backs doing a better job with their tempo. So, doing a really good job of just not abandoning the run, staying balanced, and then our kids just going out and executing in the pass game. DaeDae made some huge catches there towards the end of the game.
Now, you've been doing this a long time. First year as the head coach, first win at home as the head coach. But I think it was 134. I think we were plus 101 in yards in the fourth quarter. Defensively, you had them locked out. That's probably the best quarter of football, even in the East Stroudsburg game, in terms of balance. Probably the best quarter. Offense, defense, running it, throwing it. What just the fourth quarter in general, your evaluation?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's a testament to the way that we train and the way that we practice, the ability to kind of dig deep there. And again, I think our guys are just kind of tired of it. The Bloomsburg game deflated us a little bit, but it also showed us listen, guys, if you don't show up and play and execute, you're going to get beat by anybody. And if you show up and execute, you have an opportunity, you have a chance. And so I think our guys kind of got tired of, hey, let's stop doing our own thing and being knuckleheads and let's lock into what's going on here. So you started to see a focus and an urgency. You saw it today at practice. You saw it in the weight room this morning. So I'm hoping that we really feed off this, create some momentum, and get this thing rocking and rolling.
All right. DaeDae Allen is going to join us here in a bit, and Coach Scott will join us coming up after that. We took care of my alma mater this week. Maybe yours is coming, or I should say last week. Maybe yours this week. Talked some Crimson Hawks when Coach rejoins us. DaeDae Allen when we come back. We're live at Charlie's Pub and Eatery, Route 99 just past the lake. It's Scot Talk with head coach Matt Scott. I'm Joe Lodanosky. Back with more right after this. Welcome back to Scot Talk with head coach Matt Scott, Joe Lodanosky, and the featured Fighting Scot this week, DaeDae Allen, or as we now call him, Mr. Fourth Quarter. A couple of very contested catches. First of all, I'd like to talk about your chin. How does it feel? Some big hits, hung on to the football, and obviously, I can't imagine that you felt any pain, but there were some contested catches. What's that feel like when you make the big grab to continue to drive when you know that anything prior to that had sort of gone? You were swimming upstream, but all of a sudden you found it. What's that like as a player in the huddle on the sideline when you could just feel that all of a sudden the tides have turned your way?
First and foremost, I like to give everything that happened on Saturday. I like to give it to the man above. Without him, I wouldn't be able to do that. But also taking big hits like that, that's part of the game, And having my number called when the team needs me most, that's the most I live for. Because without those, that's like the team trusts me.
Now that wide receiver room has had some ebb and some flow. Obviously, Gav, France has dealt with some injury. Nico coming back off an injury. You're a new guy, but it felt even in game one at East Stroudsburg. We talked about how it felt like France had spent his childhood with Nico, but you're a guy that has sort of become Nico's security blanket a little bit, and the guy that's willing to go over the middle and make that catch. What's that been like? Coming to Edinburgh, but having not only a new school, new quarterback, new offense. What's that transition been like?
That transition is something I have to get used to because every quarterback they throw it a different type of way, so I had to get used to throwing it with Nico. But besides that, once we got that down packed, it's been over from there.
Now, this is your first, soiree here in the PSAC. What's the transition? I don't mean on the field, but just making the transition here to Edinburgh and the regular life outside of football. What's that been like for you?
It's kind of a culture shock because everybody in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, they're so kind, so respectful, and stuff like that. So I have to get used to that.
Well, me too, I guess. I live here. Thank you. That was very nice of you, Dave. I appreciate that. But again, I want to go back, and obviously we can sort of joke about this now because the first half was not very good. And it felt like the first half you were in the shadow of your own goalpost. Anytime you had a big play, there was a penalty, and back you go. Coach talked about in the locker room what that was like. What was that like, positionally? What was that like, with your conversations with Nico as that progressed? And it seemed like every time something went bad, or went well, something immediately went bad. It seemed you couldn't stack plays like Coach Scott and I like to talk about. But what was the conversation like on the sideline in the huddle as you guys were sort of trying to get your footing?
That conversation, just the entire position group in general, it's more like just stick to the plan. Something's going to pop sooner or later. So, and then after a while, they start making their I don't want to really call it like turnovers, but they start doing what they're not coached to do. Wasn't playing sound football at all. And after a while, that's when we just start to capitalize on their mistakes.
Now, when you felt, I don't know when the score was, because in the broadcast booth, you get a real temperature of what's going on. Coach Scott said, we just got to keep. What was the sort of play that everybody was like, yeah, we are just one play away from stacking the first play to turn the corner and get back into this football game? Was there a moment that you can remember in the game where you're like, yeah, not only are we in this thing, we're going to win this thing?
When we start to run the ball a whole lot more, that's when we noticed, we're starting to wear them down a whole lot more. So after a while, they started packing the box, and that's when we started taking our shots.
Obviously, that has been a very popular topic on this show, and certainly the best running performance, Jerry Dinkins and Karan Robinson had combined 10 for 46 and 12 for 46. That's the kind of consistency that's going to make your life a lot easier. And it's not coincidence the running yards in the fourth quarter is really when the offense started to click.
Yes, sir.
Now, I do want to mention this because this game has become even more fun since Nico Marchitelli told us he wanted to be a professor. So now I ask everybody, when you grow up and you're done with football, what is your lifelong ambition?
So right now I'm studying criminal justice. That's my major as of right now. So when football's all said and done, I like to become a lawyer.
Very cool. Now your path, you mentioned you're new here. Where are you from originally? High school, your stops before you came to Edinburgh?
I'm from Westchester, New York. High school I went to was called Archbishop Stepinac.
And where were you at prior to here?
Western Connecticut State.
Western Connecticut State. All right, DaeDae Allen joining us. 4 catches, 81 yards, 20 yards after a catch, the big 40-yarder to get the Fighting Scots into the end zone. Big participant in the 10-play, 97-yard drive, and, of course, the game-winning drive with Bo Schwartz. 9 plays, 64 yards, and 2:13 off the clock, and a 13-0 fourth-quarter scoring advantage. DaeDae, I appreciate the time, and continue making those contested grabs.
Thank you for having me.
All right, more to come. Coach Scott, we're going to turn the page to the Crimson Hawks when we get back. This is Scott Talk with Matt Scott, Joe Lodanosky. We're live at Charlie's Pub and Eatery, Route 99, just past the lake. Welcome back to Charlie's Pub and Eatery, just past the lake, Route 99 here in Edinburgh. 2-2 on the year. Most importantly, 1-0 in West play. Hard to be 2-0 if you're not 1-0. Learned that with my comm degree. Indiana, not an easy ask, but this is not necessarily your grandpa's. I mean, this looks more like June Jones and the air raid all of a sudden. They are just throwing it all over the lot. I doubt long gone are the days are out of the power line. 4.5 yards in a cloud of rubber pellets, but this is an offense that is clicking on all cylinders. And oh, by the way, where you played?
Yeah, they're playing well. They did it. The game plan versus Seton Hill last week. They executed flawlessly. We know that defense can be problematic with the man and the exotic looks that you get, and they went out there and shifted motion and misdirection and made those guys chase them all over the field and got the ball to their playmakers, and you started to see them click a little bit. Definitely look very different from week 1 versus Ashland. So they're clicking on all cylinders. They've got some really good players in the backfield. They've got a couple good wide receivers. The quarterback's playing with some confidence. So we'll definitely have our hands full for sure. I definitely think there's some plays out there for us to make, and I'm excited to get back there to Indiana and get after these guys defensively. They're very sound, really good up front, linebackers that can run, the secondary that plays sound defense and doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So there's a reason why they've been rocking and rolling here the last 3 weeks, offensively and defensively. And like I said, we're going to definitely have to come to work.
Certainly, what stood out to me to be able to keep Craggett in check on the ground defensively. That's stout. When you talked about the linebacker, is it just that they're able to win up front, but they defensively, that is no easy task to keep him under wraps, and for the most part, they did that.
Yeah, and again, when you've got some backers that can run sideline to sideline the way they do, and you have some defensive linemen that can keep their hats in creases and knock people back, it allows you to be really good in the run game. I thought their secondary came down and did a great job supporting. And then they're going to put pressure on you. They're going to pressure you. They're going to play man-to-man and make your guys have to win one-on-one matchups. And so, that can always be a challenge when they can lock you up like that.
And, of course, they've got their big play guy in Whitlock on the outside. He's not often do you have the big play guy also be highly productive. Usually the big play guy is kind of, he's going to get his 2 or 3 and maybe only comes in 4 looks, but I think he had 11 catches for 170 or whatever it was. So when you have that combination schematically, obviously that's a guy that you just has to be accounted for in every down and distance.
Yeah, they've got a little bit of the Tavon Austin, West Virginia stuff going on there a little bit where, they're going to run jet sweep where it's a pass. And so they're getting some pass yards out of that. You're looking at them like, hey, they're only rushing the ball for such and such. Well, they're looking for them. I would have to imagine philosophically they look at perimeter screen, They look at the jet sweep passes and things along those lines as their run game to kind of get them going a little bit. And then that's when they're going to lull you to sleep and take a play action shot and throw it to Massey down the field. And so they've got a plan. They're working it really well right now, and so we're excited to prepare for them. Though we're really looking forward to this one.
Now we've obviously this is first with you, first year head coach. You get your first road win, East Stroudsburg, no small feat. Finally get the first home game under your belt. But it will be the first time as the head guy coaching against your alma mater. Have you thought at all about that, or is it just the team on the other sideline?
Well, thankfully, in 2019, I got an opportunity to play against those guys once at New Haven, so that'll make it a not too much of a man, this is good to be back type deal. But I respect the heck out of all those coaches at IUP. They were all tremendous in just my transition here and what things I need to know and things along those lines. And I sent them when I sent a donation in for the golf outing. I said I'm cheering for you guys every game except for October 4th. So I'm excited to get back. A lot of great memories there. I appreciate everything that they've done for me, but I want to get after them and get a big win on the road.
I'm trying to. Was Torts there when you were?
Yeah, all those guys, Jim Smith, Mike Campolo, Paul Tortorella, those guys were all there when I was playing. So
now, obviously, as of late, it's been a pretty good series. Some success, last year the walk-off with Evan Lowe, but again, when you look at last year's film, how different are they versus, obviously how different we are with the new staff. What can you learn anything from last year's win? Because I know on the message boards they are chomping at the bit for the Borough to come back to town.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the thing that's always tough in Division II and tough in conference play is sometimes one win can really knock the wind out of your sails. And so you're playing in, last year you're playing an IUP team that's coming off a couple tough losses, a little deflated. Doesn't take anything away from our guys last year and how hard they played and how well they played. So I think I'm really excited just to see our guys go out there with some confidence and some urgency in what we're asking them to do. It's a completely new year. There's definitely some similarities schematically, defensively, that we've been looking at. I think for the offense, though, as IUP's offense, it's completely different to what they've been doing. But there's some things that we can take from it. It's always good to see matchups and how our guys handled some of the matchups with their guys last year as well.
Well, obviously the big thing is that you're 1-0 in West play. Not all wins are equal. I mean, the second win in a row is great, but the first win after two losses, what's the week been like? In terms of, because again, it doesn't get any easier. It's another, but I don't think I can overstate enough how big of a win that was on Saturday to get ready for this coming Saturday.
Yeah, it was. I try not to look ahead too much into things because when you look ahead, that's when you stub your toe. But as a staff, obviously, we're looking at our stretch and we're like, hey, man, like these next couple of weeks, as before we head into the top teams in our league, we got to really try to find our footing and get things rocking and rolling. And it was really imperative to come out with a win versus Clarion. And I'm glad our guys just kept digging and kept fighting. And it makes this week even bigger, and it makes the energy that we have from our kids, like it was even more so today, because like I said, I mean, you're 1-0 now. And, as we build this program, we expect to play in these big games. We expect, to be a part of the big games and be a part of the conversation for first place and things along those lines. And so I tell our guys, like, if you go out and execute, you have an opportunity with anybody. And if we do a great job as coaches putting you guys in position, we have as good a chance as anybody. So let's all go do our jobs. Let's go to work this week and give it a shot.
Got to give the people what they want. 3 reasons you win, 3 reasons you lose.
So the biggest thing, obviously, defensively, which we've struggled on a little bit, is the east and west run game, the perimeter stuff, and that's what they like to do. A lot of lead outside zone, a lot of perimeter screen. So if we can do a great job of fitting the perimeter stuff and not allowing those to turn into big plays, that's going to definitely help us defensively. Offensively, we've got to limit the negative plays and do a great job of protecting the quarterback. I think they have a very good front four that are going to do a great job of creating pressure without having to bring that fifth man. So we've got to keep Nico clean. We got to limit our sacks for sure. We got to be under at least 2 sacks there and keeping him clean and keeping him protected. And then this is going to be a big takeaway battle. Like, we've got to find a way with that great defense that IUP has. We have to find a way to create some short fields for our offense. We got the late turnover last week on the Hail Mary play, but we're going to need to find a way to create 3 turnovers and score and set up a score on defense to give us that X factor and keep us in this one and give us an opportunity to win.
All right, 2 o'clock kickoff at Indiana. Airtime on the Fighting Scots Radio Network is 1 p.m. Fighting Scots Radio Network presented by ErieInjury.com. And the pregame show built by Hobbs Lumber with Tim Shaw at 1 o'clock. Coach Scott?
Thanks, go Burrow.
All right, until next time, it's Scott Talk with Matt Scott here at Charlie's Pub and Eatery, Route 99, just past the lake. Talk to you on the radio this weekend.